Hello, my name is Meta Reed, and I'd like to welcome all the parents of preschool-age children to this webinar on positive discipline titled Tantrums, Tears, and Laughter, Effective Strategies for Providing Positive Discipline for Preschool-Age Children. First, we will look at our children within the context of their developmental level, and this is important because we need to have realistic expectations based on the skills that they have or that they are learning at the moment. We will look at what it means to understand behavior as communication. We will acknowledge our role in understanding our children's behavior. And then we will look at some strategies for providing positive discipline, specifically talking about timeout and praise, as well as some other commonly talked about situations among parents and difficulty dealing with their children. And then lastly, we will talk about some parent self-care strategies. Okay, beginning with our children, looking at their developmental level, the 3 to 4 years range is what is called I think I'm all grown up age. And so this is when children are beginning to get their independence. They're asking more and more questions. They're starting to use simple sentences. They're beginning to take care of their eating, dressing, and bathroom routines on their own. They're beginning to recognize things are the same as and things are different from, so they're starting to kind of put things in categories. And they're also beginning to pay attention to things that go together, such as, a pair of socks, or pants and shirts and socks are all clothing. Also, becoming more aware of other people's feelings. They can't wait for a short time to take turns. They like to pretend and may have imaginary friends. They enjoy playing with other children and may have special friends. They like to take some responsibilities, such as running errands and having chores. And they're also beginning to develop their fine and gross motor skills. So when we start talking about behavior, we talk about it within the context of a way that children are communicating. Because they have limited language, but they have a lot of feelings and a lot of needs that they are not able to express yet. Children usually engage in a behavior because they want something, they want to get away from something. Perhaps they're overstimulated by their environment, either too hot or too cold, or they just want your attention. So now let's look at what it means to understand your child's behavior. First, we need to understand children do not misbehave simply to make our lives as parents miserable, that there is a reason for their misbehavior. And we need to be like detectives to figure it out sometimes. The first step in understanding your child's behavior is to first determine why your child is misbehaving. You could ask yourself, are they tired? Are they hungry? Are they stressed, overwhelmed, or hurt? After we determine why they're misbehaving, you want to access your own emotions. So first you want to assess your own situation. Are you tired, hungry, or stressed, or overwhelmed? Because children can pick up on how their parents are feeling. Alright, and the third step is you want to ask yourself, what is my child trying to communicate with their behavior? This will help us understand, how best to handle each situation, because each situation is individual and should be handled appropriately within that context. We don't want to overreact or underreact to situations. So a little example I like to use is that rather than scolding your child if he spills the milk, teach him how to clean up the mess and let him help. And then show your child again how to pour the milk successfully, and this may mean they need your help. But this is a perfect example because our kids are learning how their fine motor skills are still developing, but they want to be helpful, they want to be independent, so they might often do little things like these. So although when we talk about discipline, it's frequently associated with punishment, but it actually means to guide or teach. So we're rephrasing the word discipline that I'm using here, and it's more of a teaching method, not as a way to punish. So let's first look at our effective discipline toolkit. And the first one we'll talk about is using effective time out. This one is often used inappropriately. So the purpose of timeout is to provide an opportunity for children to gather their own feelings and thoughts, calm down, and learn to control their tempers. However, children do not yet have the capacity to do this. So timeout may not be appropriate for our immature students, but may be more appropriate when we get to the later 3 to 4 year range. So first you need to have an agreed upon place for a timeout, and if you have different kids, they should have different timeout places, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. You want a place that is free of stimulation, safe, and not scary. So, for some children, having a chair facing the wall may be a little scary. For others, it may be calming. A question I get often is, how long should my child stay in timeout? Well, a good rule of thumb is to equate the number of minutes with the child's age. So, for example, a 3-year-old child, they would receive a maximum of 3 minutes of timeout, but it could be less. And then for your older preschoolers, you really want to encourage them to take ownership of their new calm down state. So when they do leave timeout, you want to have them recognize, oh, look, you can come back to play when you are all calm, because they're starting to realize that, oh, calm body means that I can come back and play. It's important to remember to avoid using timeout for every misbehavior. There's not one golden discipline strategy that works for every situation, because every situation is different. So you want to use sparingly, and you also want to examine how you're feeling in the moment and how your day has gone, as well as how your child's day has gone, because that affects the mood, the setting, their state of mind. And then you also want to remember that there's no single discipline strategy that works for every instance. So you should be aware of a variety of techniques, as we're going to discuss today, to be ready for most all situations. So another great discipline technique is praise. Praise is a form of attention that lets children know that they are important and have value. So it's important when you're giving your children praise to be specific. Instead of saying things like good job, you want to say thank you for putting your plate in the sink. You also want to catch the children being good. So you want to comment on what they're doing when things are going well. Comments such as, it looks like you're having fun making that garage, or that shows that we're paying attention to them when things are going well, and not just when things are going badly, because often kids are getting our attention when they're doing things that they shouldn't be doing. That's when we're saying no, no. So this is a great technique to kind of counteract when we have to be using our no word a lot. So let's look at some specific scenarios that parents said were troubling to them. Children whine because they don't get their way. What can you do? Well, you can give them choices. You want to limit how much you talk to them, because they can't understand a lot of words right now. It's important to stoop to their eye level and quietly say, I will talk to you when you stop whining. You want to encourage your children to use words to let them know what they want, so they're not just screaming hysterically, they're learning to communicate their needs. And you want to be direct, simple, and calm. When your children bite, you can firmly state, we do not bite people, it hurts. We can provide some objects that are okay for the child to bite. Maybe they're seeking some sensory and need to chew on something. You want to observe if there are certain things that trigger the biting and step in with another choice before that child bites. So being aware of the triggers. And then it's kind of important that biting back is not an effective or desirable way to teach children good behavior. You really want to model what you want, not what you don't want. All right, when children say no or do not obey, you can provide choices. First, you clean up your room, then I get to read you a story. Remember that sometimes children just say no when they're told what to do, but give them a little time and they'll actually do it, so don't react immediately. And you also want to remember that saying no is a sign of a child's growing independence. So you want to consider whether the issue is important enough to take action, and you want to praise your child for cooperating with you when they do comply. All right, when children do things that they know they should not do, you can, ignore the behavior if it's not a serious problem. Don't give it any attention. Maybe they're seeking some attention to you in a negative way. You want to explain other ways of behaving. You want to direct your child's attention to a different activity. You could set up consequences, be firm, and follow through. And children really respond well to the rule is. They seem very rule driven and they like those boundaries, so you could just make up a rule. When children throw temper tantrums, you can give the child as little attention as possible until he's able to control himself. Again, not feeding into that negativity. You can walk away if they're not in danger of hurting themselves or others. And then you can also move the child to a place to be alone until they're able to demonstrate self-control. And this is kind of the timeout. When children fight, often siblings fight amongst each other in the home, you can, as long as no one is getting hurt, kind of see if the children can work it out. But oftentimes there's just such an energy to it that you have to separate the children. And this could utilize, again, the timeout strategy, and this is why you would have differences for each child in your home and send them to those places so they can cool down their bodies. You want to model respectful behavior when you're talking to them. You want to provide choices other than fighting. You can look in the child's eyes and state the rule against fighting. Remember, children love those rules. Again, you want to be direct, simple, and calm. You want to use natural consequences, and above all, avoid power struggles. Okay, it's very important to remember to have realistic expectations based on your child's developmental level. Utilize a positive approach and praise the child for their accomplishments, and this includes you yourself being calm. You want to use effective strategies for responding to challenging situations, and that means that you have many different techniques and you don't use the same technique for each situation, and above all, you have patience. Okay, when parents feel anxious or upset about your kid's difficult behavior, it's important to calm down, tell a friend or a family member, because everyone needs help. We need to remember to use a calm and respectful tone when we speak with our children. Whatever our children's age, use a tag team approach, utilizing everyone in the household to be on the same page. You want to be honestly and open with others about your feelings of anger. You want to help your children learn how to express their emotions when they're not upset, and reduce daily stress through a predictable routine by planning downtime together, and especially on those hectic days. And it's very important to choose not to feel guilty for taking self-time or spending playtime with your parents. Have the right to ask for help as often as they need it, have dates with spouses, close the bathroom door and not be bothered, call friends or family members just to blow off steam, say no to others, make decisions that family and friends may not agree with, and make a mistake or make a wrong decision. Overall, I hope you've enjoyed today's webinar on positive discipline. Please, here are some of my references, and feel free to go to these resources for more information. Have a wonderful day.